super excited to be here with all of you. I think this is going to be a really fun day. I'm super impressed by the organization so far. There was some great talks this morning. Vitalik had some really enlightening stuff around DACC, and then Gubsheep over here had a great chat. So I'm really excited to talk about something completely different to anything that you guys heard today. So we're going to speak more about how programmable cryptography can actually enable IRL communities. So if you were here to think about mathematics, we're not going to be going into that right now. We're more going to be looking at two topics I never thought would ever interact or be in the span of something I'd talk about in the session around ZK tech and communities. And let's just be clear that this needs to, any chance we know, there we go. Just to be clear, we're at the really, really early stages of figuring out how ZK tech and communities operate together and how ZK tech can actually be valuable to communities. So we're still at the stage of trying to figure out the elephant. I might be talking about the wall today. Like, we know that there's something there. We're still figuring out what it is. And hopefully all of you guys can get really excited here to also think more deeply about this and maybe figure out more about it being a fan and a rope and a spear. And sometime soon, we'll figure out what this elephant actually is. A bit of background about me. I am a co-creator at Zuzelu, which is an IRL community builder. I'm a cheerleader of all new tech, especially that in the programmable cryptographic space. And while we're going to hear a lot about other things, I'm just super excited about this topic on how we can solve some unique problems that communities have around coordination with programmable cryptography. I'll talk about the realms of where ZK Tech and Zuzelu intertwined to create this new network of an IRL community globally that brought together many people from different places. And I'll share some examples of where we've seen it being valuable to date, as well as some ideas about where we'd like to see the future go and what we can build together. But what is Zuzelu? Other than a cool word, I keep saying it's pretty cool. I'm stoked about the name, but it really was and is a pop-up city concept that we experimented with in Montenegro for 2 months earlier this year. We brought together 200 people full-time and 800 visitors across the Ethereum landscape, ZK tech, longevity, biotech, network states, and charter cities. We also just ran a second experiment here in Istanbul where we had people come to Istanbul for 2 weeks. So it was a compressed pop-up village was what we were calling it, where we had 400 people around all of these different interesting ideas to coalesce in one space. Zuzelu is on a mission to foster a global network of communities to advance humanity by creating playgrounds at the intersection of free and open technology, health, science, and social innovation. And applied cryptography and programmable cryptography fit across the entire sphere of that. Our goals right now are threefold. So first, we want to establish experimental sandboxes in physical locations where tech innovators like yourself can collaborate and rapidly iterate on projects together. Second, we want to cultivate a distinct culture that stands out from just the norm and doesn't conform to the mean. Lastly, we do want to be partnering with local authorities and local governments to influence legislative change. So when we think about where ZK Tech plays in this landscape, it really goes all the way from having a space to develop and create and have people test what you're building, to helping shape and bring together new culture, as well as potentially have an impact at like a large government scale. So there's something pretty fun here. And what did we use sort of ZK applications for at Zuzlu? So because of what I'm going to double down on here is Zuzlu's first objective and how we want to build sandboxes for creating and building new tech with alternative iteration. And we've seen how ZK tech can profoundly enhance our community experience. We didn't expect that, but that happened, and I'll go into more details about that. Our experiments ranged from residential identification to facilitating anonymous polling and secure, verifiable interactions in the physical spaces that we were in, both in Montenegro and here in Istanbul. And let's dive into some stuff about community here. Zuzlu was created with concentric circles of believers in the community. And that's what makes Zuzlu so special. It's the strength and trust within this network that enables the growth and flourishing on what we've already built and what we continue to build together. Creating these layers of trust within this network is super important. And the ZK tech behind what we've built and underpinning a lot of it is becoming crucially embedded to support our development. But what problems does ZK tech solve at a place like Zuzlu? At the heart of many communities is this need for trust that I just mentioned about. And at Zuzlu, we are a community that is trying to develop the sense of senius, which is the idea of the scene of collective genius, which in a community like that, you need even more trust. And in a world that is increasingly connected, yet oddly isolated, Zuzlu addresses a pressing need for genuine community bonds and trust in an interpersonal relationship way, like one you could find on a playground as a kid. Cryptography at Zuzlu is helping both give people trust in others and allowing people to share information based on what they see fit with organizers or with different people at Zuzlu without the organizers deciding or choosing what gets shared and when it gets shared. And this is vital for starting to move forward with something that's much more free and open. So one thing I sort of just want to mention here is the idea of coordinating humans is really, really hard. Coordinating large-scale events like this one, Go Althea, and everyone here that is planning this is truly terrifying and extremely time-intensive. So what does, we've figured out this world of meetups and doing things in short time periods because it's just so overwhelming and daunting to get together many people around shared values for a longer period of time. But then on the other side of the spectrum, we have universities that you all pay an exorbitant amount to be at. What does it look like to play in this middle of a shorter time period together with a smaller group of people that share that sense of trust together? And how can we be building tools that enable just those individuals to easily coordinate with one another? I don't quite know what that looks like, but I do think that programmable cryptography is actually going to play a role in helping move this forward. So let's actually go into some of the high-level stuff that I was walking through with what we did at Zuzlu. ZooPass, you're all using it today. So everyone used cryptography today. This was the first step in kind of exploring what this space could look like. It really helped us revolutionize ticketing, and it was developed by the Xerox Park team, which has now sort of taken it a lot further, but it helped with enhancing security, adding convenience, anonymity, and establishing this identity layer for the Zuzulu community. So you were a resident or a visitor, and your ZooPass would tell you that. In addition, you could choose whether you shared your name or didn't, so you were choosing what level of information you were willing to share in moments when your QR code was scanned. In addition, from that spurred this whole little ecosystem around ZooPass that was built that allowed people to engage with one another in, again, this like trusted way. So the ZooStamps team, which I'll say more about in a little bit, was awesome. It kind of created these physical interaction spaces to prove connection. The ZooCast that we had was our form of Twitter that was an anonymous Twitter and allowed people to share very freely. And we had ZooPoll, which allowed for voting and people actually sharing their opinion and getting a better sense of what the community wanted, which was all done in, again, a anonymous way. So fast forward to where we are today. The ZooPass team has done an amazing job from inception in March to where we are with everyone at Devconnect using ZooPass. It's sort of accelerated this transition from concept to product. And this is the type of thing that we want to allow and enable at a place like Zuzulu, is ideas in the space that we don't really know where it's going to go. Again, we could be, touching the fan or thinking it's a fan as part of the elephant. But having a space like Zuzulu to iterate, to test out, and to drive something forward to a point where now 4,000 people are using that tool is super exciting. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the frogs. My frog hat is right over there. I thought I had it on my head. But ZooPass has really taken stuff one step further to create a bit of a game in terms of sharing zero-knowledge proofs and getting people to understand what it can look like just to transfer data, like a frog. Everyone in the room here is trusted because we have all decided to be here. We all purchased a ticket. We all got our ZooPass. We were able to verify that. And then we got to enter the swamp and actually get to play around within a safe space that only us have access to. There's something really special in creating a container like that. And while Zuzulu is, all about allowing people to build new technology and testing out the technology, human connection is really at the core. And initiatives like the NFC-based ZooStamps project, which facilitated this playful and meaningful interaction space, allowed people to connect in ways that were previously a little bit more challenging for them. So ZooStamps has continued their work and has become the Jabmoji team, which you will get to learn a lot more about later. I suggest you stay for Vivek's talk about that. The NFC cards that you can now go around and find someone and tap to receive creates this playful way of giving people permission to interact around a physical object that proves that you have physically been there or physically connected with that individual, and allows for others that come after you to interact in a similar way, and then figure out how you can coordinate that group that have all interacted with the proofs at a later stage. We had a 150-person scavenger hunt 2 weeks ago at the beginning of ZooConnect that was enabled by the Jabmoji team. It was phenomenally coordinated with these NFC cards roaming around that people had to go and find and tap, and you had to prove that you went to the location to receive it. Some teams would send the proof to a friend, and that friend would click on it, and they were then sort of like banished from being able to get that proof, which was this really playful and amazing way of guaranteeing that people participated and interacted with one another. It was a form of community building that I have never seen before, and I hope to see a lot more of to enable fun and connection in the future. So looking ahead, the potential for ZK Tech in creating safe and inclusive and opt-in social spaces is immense. We're just scratching the surface, and how this technology kind of progresses and what we use with this community space is going to be something we figure out together. For one, at Zuzlu, I'd love to see a number of different things happen. So if you're excited to work on stuff in community, please come and find me after. What would it take to create a cryptographic-enabled distributed clinical trial at a place like Zuzlu? What would it look like for study groups or cold plunges, teams that, go once a day for 2 months to actually attest that they are participating in it? And what does it look like for us to think about new ways of having new ways of messaging platforms to exist in the world that aren't just through the likes of Telegram or anything like that? Like, what could it actually look like to enable social connection both digitally and physically in some capacity? We're in the early days of exploring how this technology can foster deeper and more meaningful and trusted human connection and community experiences as a whole, like the scavenger hunt that we did. We're still trying to figure out where it is very unique to use ZK Tech for community. And that's something that I urge all of you to think about. We really need technology to help enable coordination that's complex. And this technology may be a step in the right direction. So please come speak to me if you have ideas. I do want to say a massive thank you for those who have started experimenting in the space and for you to stick around for the rest of the talks today. There are so many exciting things. The Jabmoji team, the Zupass team, and the like have really pushed forward a lot of this progress. And I can't expect anything more than what they've already been doing, and more people just getting involved and doing the same. We're still figuring out what this elephant is and excited for you guys to help. Thank you.